What is up, you guys? I'm James Reptiles, and in today's video we're going to be talking about maximizing space and maximizing profit. Now, this is something you can do with a lot of different businesses. I'm going to be focusing on how to do it with reptiles. You can, if you want to breed feeders, you can definitely do it with feeders 100%. And you'll see some of that in this video. But I'm going to go through first and talk about all my animals and how I plan to, one, maximize the space, and two, maximize the profits. And secondly, I'm going to go over ways that you or someone in certain situations can do it. Obviously I have a 10 by 10 room here. Maybe you only have a rack. I'll go over that at the end. So stick with me, and we're going to go over every single kind of animal and space in the room and tell you what I plan to do with it. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is my reptile room, and the worst spot you would think for me to start. Oh, by the way, I have a lot of stuff just on the ground everywhere. That's just kind of how I roll. I even got stuff under here. I'll even just move it around if I'm going side to side. I will put up with things being in the way if it helps me make more money. You know what I mean? Like, I could have it all clean and stuff, but where would I put all this stuff that I use? I'd have to go out to the garage every time I need to use it, do all this other stuff, and I'm not willing to do that. So I'll have a roach colony on the ground if it means free roaches and I can sell extra roaches. That aside, the one space I don't think I'll ever use is this wall right here, because this door opens. That's most of it right there, and that little gap, well, there's not much I can do there. I can keep the light right here and keep the buckets behind it, and that kind of works. The closet, I just leave this stuff. That's enough space to get in the closet. I keep my boxes, I keep empty tubs, extra tape, extra paper towels, extra bedding in here. I ordered paper towels on Amazon. They're late. I have no plans to use that space for anything specifically, nor the space right in front of it. That's just kind of extra storage space. Moving on, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this yet. I need to find the third drawer in the garage, and then I'll probably move all that stuff into a tub and use this for something else, possibly superworms, possibly, I don't know yet. This space right here will eventually hold most likely a snake rack, and I can put the incubator up top or incubate the eggs in a slot or something. I don't know, I'll figure out the incubator situation later. But that also brings me to, if I'm going to double leopard geckos next year, I'll probably need a bigger incubator, which might end up going there. So that's kind of depending. It'll probably end up being the incubator just because the snakes aren't as much of a focus as the leopard geckos are for me. This rack, look at all these mealworms. I've been breeding mealworms. I still have to buy a week's worth of mealworms every couple weeks, just because I'm not producing a ton. But I plan to buy a second one of these and maybe some metal and just put it right on top. I'm going to connect the two and just make a tall version. Because why not? It's not a lot of... I think the rack is like $40 or something like that. It's like 30 bucks. It's nothing. And it would honestly save me probably $30 a month, because I'd say at least once a month I buy $30 worth of mealworms. And if I can produce twice as much, and instead of spending $30 a month, I may be spending $10 on carrots a month. That saves me a lot of space, and I have the time to take care of them right now. So there's that. Next we go into this rack. So in terms of babies, this rack overfills with babies every year. That's fine. I can put babies on top of the freezer. I do that. I can put them on the ground. I can put them in the closet. I can do whatever. I have no problem with that. So I can breed as much of these as I want. So let's start with this. My quad stripe group. As you guys know, they're not very quad stripey. This is kind of the first year I really put a quad stripe in there. And I got a couple awesome pinstripes that have some quad striping in it. In probably not this coming season, but the next season, when those are adults, expect for me to produce a lot of awesome quad stripes. And I have 3 females in there. One of them is on my lily white. So the lily white will get taken out, and probably I have like 4 holdbacks. I'll probably put 3 of them in here. And if one of them's a boy, even better. That's perfect. In terms of the gargoyle geckos, like I said, or I don't know if I did say this, I actually traded my 4 gargoyle babies for 4 adult leopard geckos that were already, ready to breed for this next coming season. But I have more to hatch. So, like I said, it's about the same time these are ready in not this next season, but the one after. Because this coming season's only 6 months. That's not enough time to grow up. Crested gecko babies, they take, around a year. I'll have another gargoyle or two, and I'm going to keep them, so I will be producing more gargoyles. In terms of Dalmatians, I have one that's awesome that will go in here and replace a female. So anytime I replace an adult female, I can sell her, and I can use that money for whatever. I can use it to buy a new project or start a new thing or whatever. This one will probably be lily whites. I have 2 baby lily whites, so hopefully they're I get another female, and I'll buy a nice regular male. I don't know what kind yet, but it'll go in here, and these all 4 will either have more animals in them, so at least more, because this one and another gargoyle and everything else will also have nicer animals. Now, I could put a 5th one up here, and I've talked about doing reds for a while, but I sold a bunch of the reds that I had, the babies, because I could use the money and I didn't have anything to do with them at the time. Up here, I wouldn't plan on putting a 6th one. I just kind of need the snake space, to be honest, and I can't see myself using a 6th one at this point. That's probably another 2 or 3 years down the road. I don't need to buy more adult crested geckos. I'd rather make some money now, reinvest a little bit of it, and not all of it, because I don't want to jump into too much at once. That's just a lot of babies at that point. So I'm taking this slow, but I'm definitely working on it. It's crested gecko rack has always kind of been work in progress, and it's really starting to get there this year. I produced a lot of awesome Dalmatian and pinstripe babies this year, and I can't wait to hold a lot of those back. Same with the leopard geckos. I produced a lot of awesome stuff last year, and I held it all back. Now this rack, this is my adult leopard gecko rack. Back there is kind of just tools and paper towel rolls. Let's count the males in this rack, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to count those 2, so 10, because those 2 are a buddy of mine I'm selling. So imagine this rack that holds 27. What if we took 10 out, right? So all of a sudden you go from 17 females, breeder females, which some of those I didn't even breed this year because 2 of them at the bottom, so 17. So you go from 15 to 27. That's almost double the breeder females, and that's what I plan on doing next year. So you're probably asking, well, James, if this is going to be for breeder females, because they need a lay box, where am I going to put the males? Well, the males don't need a lay box. So I'm planning on ordering a second rack just like this, and keeping my adult males in tubs just like this. It's, actually it's a bigger footprint. See, it's a bigger footprint at the base, because this tapers at the base. It's just not as tall. But the leopard geckos, they don't need the height. They're cave animals. They're living in tight spaces. They're living under rocks. They're doing all this other stuff. So I plan on getting another rack, putting all the males in there, and any grow-ups can go in there, because it'll be all this size tub, and that'll help me out too, because this year I ran out of space with this baby rack. So next year, with all the males in there and almost potentially double the babies, I will probably need another baby rack, which at that point I'll end up putting up here or something, to be determined, right? So that being said, I'll need a bigger incubator. I've already said that. That's where that'll come in handy. In terms of isopods, I do plan on selling all my isopods. I've been slowly selling them off. I've been feeding them to leopard geckos sometimes just because why not? So those are going away. I wasn't making enough money off them to where I really cared about them that much, and they weren't as exciting as they were when I first started. Sorry, I kind of jumped over there real quick. In terms of the leopard geckos, let's quickly go over each project and talk about how I plan to, like I said, I plan to maximize the space. Let's talk about maximizing the profit. This is a normal or snow to snows, and I sell them as, generally speaking, I sell them as pet quality snows because I don't know what they are. I'm holding back a super snow this year. I'll actually show it to you. Really awesome looking, really cool pattern. I don't know if it will replace lefty or righty, or if I'll just add it. So I'll be making more snows and super snows, which will be good. I want to make less normals, so I might end up getting rid of one of them. Who's to say? Or I could possibly get rid of this whole project. That's up in the air too, because like today, I sold a normal for $35, and I had to drive 40 minutes to FedEx just to ship it, because the person couldn't get it the same day I was shipping other geckos, so it took extra time. This project, I have a couple that I'm probably going to hold back and just kind of play with and maybe get some nicer combos out of. These guys, everything down that's Black Knight, I've got visual clips, I got visual patternless. If you haven't heard, my Blizzard, my Super Snow Blizzard, isn't actually a Blizzard, it's a Super Snow patternless. They do look a lot alike, and they're hard to tell if it's not a baby. So I produced the first patternless. So everything I have that was Het Blizzard is Het patternless. I've got some Black Knight Eclipses that are not Het for anything. Those will go into this project down here. And then Tangerine Tornadoes. I have at least one holdback already. Nice female. Yep, that's a female. Awesome tail. Let's compare her to the mom real quick. She even looks better. But then of course the mom is breeding, so that's all that going on. Here are my blood bells and my radars. Those are to be worked on in the future. So that's all the leopard geckos. That was all the crested geckos. Let's talk about the snakes. The snakes are about to hatch any day now. In terms of reverse OKTs, I have one female I'm growing out from my buddy Glenn. So that'll give me a trio. Probably not next year, probably the year after. I plan on at least holding one more back to give me 4 total, 3 females. These purple guys, I'm just going to call them purple guys because their morph combos are crazy and long. I have this female that will be ready next year, and this one that I'm holding back. After she produces the first year, I'll at least keep the best one back, because this one's het for a lot of things. This one's het for 2 things that this one's visual for. So, I might breed with that one for a couple of years, but I'll probably replace it soon after I start breeding it. In terms of the albino cow kings, as soon as I produce them the first year, I'm going to breed them this next year. And as soon as I hit the visual albino, whether that's a male or a female, I will keep it. And I will also keep one more of the opposite gender. If there's a male, I'll keep him first because I can breed him probably the second year, honestly, instead of the third. Because I want an albino to a bunch of hets. A male would be better because that would just, a male can breed to multiple females. And a female can only, if I kept an albino female, I'm getting hets to hets except for that one female, where the male is het to het, or a het to a visual to everything. So preferably a male. And I will also either hold back an albino female or another het albino female, and just kind of get that project producing more. Now, I don't know where I would put all those at this time. That's something I'll figure out, whether they're on the ground, whether they're in a rack over here, whether they're in a rack in the closet. Who's to say? But that's the plan. The ball pythons will not be here. I have someone buying them all off of me. A friend, I'm giving a good deal. I know he's getting into ball pythons and I want to help him out. So those are going away. Steve is just Steve. He'll be down there forever. And the blue beauties. The blue beauty eggs. Let me pull them out real quick. Yeah. They're denting. They started denting about a week ago, which means they're going to hatch any day. Realistically, the plan is to hold back one more female, the nicest one. Either the nicest in color or the nicest temperament. Save that one up there. Keep another one. And, eventually have a trio. Maybe keep another pair after that. Or another trio, in a couple of years. But in terms of all the snakes, it's just keeping nicer patterns of every morph. And that one female, that's corn snake, that's like not a reverse OKT, she's like an AML. They're probably all going to come out normal, and in which case I'm probably not going to keep any of them. And I might even end up selling her in a year or two just to make up space for something else, as something gets bigger and I need the space. So that's kind of everything in the room. Everything's got kind of a plan in my head, and everything will get better. You know, this year I do plan on making a good chunk of money off the leopard gecko specifically. I want to pay off all my bills, my car, all that kind of stuff, and really get my savings up. And eventually we'll either move into a bigger house, or I'll buy a house or something like that, and I'll have a bigger room, and we'll go over everything again. We'll expand. We'll talk about maybe putting up a second crested gecko wall, maybe getting a second adult female rack, maybe putting in like 3 big snake racks, and a bunch of big tubs for the blue beauties, and really have everything set nice. But that's not going to happen for a couple of years. But in that time, I'll keep building everything up. There's only so much I can do every year, so I will definitely hoard a bunch of money so I can make the room bigger and just keep expanding my profit. Now, that being said, I did tell you we were going to talk about, if you have one rack, what can you do? So let me go talk about that right now. So let's talk about you having one rack. So there was a time when I had one 6-tub 24-gallon rack, or 24-quart rack, and that was it, right? I raised my babies in it, and I bred my geckos in it. Now, everyone's different. I don't know what you're going to start with. I paid $60 for that rack. This would be a great rack to start with. I think I paid like $200 for this rack, and it was awesome. At the time, I was going to use it for crested geckos, and I used it for isopods. Now I'm using it for leopard geckos, and it works amazing. So, let me swing you over. Let's say you just bought this rack, and it was $200. You go out, you buy yourself a jump start for $30, and let's just assume your house temperature is fine and you're not worried about anything, and everything goes good. So now you're just worried about filling up with geckos, right? It's hard. You can drill holes. You don't need these fancy things. I just do that because I wanted to be consistent, because most of the tubs already had them. But let's say you want to put leopard geckos in it. These hides are $3 a piece, and if you order 27 of them, that really adds up. That's like $100 in hides. So here's probably what you're going to do. You're probably going to have one pet leopard gecko, maybe 2 that you're going to start with. And a lot of people, and I did this too, you start breeding in tanks. It doesn't really work all that well. This is why you want a rack system. There's so much problem with the tanks and all that kind of stuff. Rack systems just make it so much easier. If you want to breed, if you want to make money, if you want to utilize space, rack systems 100%. Not every species is great in rack systems. Leopard geckos are great in rack systems. Each individual gecko gets their own space. Let's say you start out with your normal and 2 snows. Really basic. You might pay $100 for all 3 of those at an expo, right? And you raise them up, and they're doing great. And you can put babies in here and grow them up in here. That's fine. And you start to breed. Well, what I would do is you have your normal and your 2 snows. Next year, or the first year you breed, keep a male snow and keep another female snow. And then what you do is you replace him, and you put a female snow right here. Because remember, the rest theoretically is empty. So now you have a snow to 3 female snows. Well, this year you're going to produce, less normals, the same amount of snows, and some super snows. So you have less cheap normals, and you have more higher end animals, which is super snows. You can sell them for like $70, $80. You can't do that when you were making just snows and normals. You were selling normals for 30 and snows for 60. You can sell them for 70, 80, which is awesome. So then you make super snows. So what I would do is take an L on that year, keep most of the super snows you produce, which you have 3 females, so you're going to make a few, 25% of your babies, so you might make, 7, 8 super snows. Make sure you replace the male, because a male to females is 50-50, or a male snow to a single female is 50-50, but that's only one of your females. If you do the male, it affects every egg that comes out. So replace your male, and possibly either add a female or replace one of your females. And now you're making only snows and only super snows. Your super snow makes only super snows. Your super snow to your snows makes half and half. So now you're only getting $60 and $80 babies, and potentially you're getting more because you might have added another female. Now I wouldn't really do more than 4 females to a male. So maybe this year you saved up $200 and you bought you know, a pair of Trempers. Now you're doing Tremper to Tremper. Now, while this is going, and maybe you're replacing some of the snows with more super snows, and you're producing less snows. Maybe, you know, the next year you keep a Tremper female back, or maybe you buy an Eclipse and you breed it in, and you're doing that. You know, there's a lot of ways to start with this. You know, for let's say you spent $230 for the rack and the thermostat. There's a lot of ways. If you're willing to spend a couple years not making any money and spending your time like I did, I've been breeding geckos for 5 years now. If you're willing to spend the time doing it, you can make a buttload of money. So I plan on making a lot of money this year. You know, I am keeping a lot of nice animals back. All these black tags, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not even all of them. I've decided there's a couple more in there. There's a crest gecko over there. There's 2 more. There's 1 more. There's 1 more back there. I'm keeping a lot of animals still. You really want to keep animals every year. If you don't keep any animals one year, your next year is going to be either exactly the same or worse. You know, there's always a saying, you know, females' first year is not the best. So maybe you will do better the next year. But maybe you have females that stop laying. Maybe you have a bad season. Maybe something passes away. Maybe the value of the animals you're breeding goes down. Let's say I only did black knights and I didn't hold any back, or I didn't buy any new blood. The next year, black knights are worth less. So whatever I breed is going to sell for less. So these are all important things you want to take into consideration when you're thinking about upgrading and doing all this stuff. Is you will lose out on profit when you hold back. But you have to remind yourself, if I lose out, let's say this Black Knight Super Snow Eclipse, I could probably sell that for at least $700. You know, to my friends, I might sell for $5, whatever. I could probably get $800 for it. I probably am selling it. That's actually not a Super Snow. I am selling that to a friend for like $800, I think. I could sell that to him for $800, but I really want to keep it. But I also have these 2 down here that are spectacular. But let's say I didn't have those. Let's say that was the only one, right? I could either sell that for $800, or I could breed it back to Apex, who's a Black Knight Snow Eclipse, make super black Black Knight Eclipses, all of them. And then next year, when Black Knight Eclipses go from 800 to like 600, I didn't get that one for 800, but now I've got 6 of them for 600, you know? This is all stuff you really need to think about. So I apologize, it's already a really long video, but that's how I think about things. That's how you guys should be thinking about things when you're doing reptiles, when you're trying to make money, when you're trying to expand your business. But just like that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're almost at 500 subscribers, which is crazy. We're getting close to 1,000, like I said. Sorry for the long video, but I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.